Okay, so we have the back part UV'd, the front part UV'd. We do have this little brace as well, structural support for the windows. That needs to be textured. This one I'm going to just go cheap on. We're going to just grab the whole thing there, all the faces, and we're going to go to UVs and use the automatic tool. Now, automatic is going to use multiple planes to determine how to lay this object out. So if I use 6, if you remember there's 6 faces in a cube, the idea is it'll surround that object coming from all directions, both positive and negative, in the X, Y, and Z, is that it does cut the surface of the object up considerably. You can see that here, every single face, because this is square structural material, is sliced up and separated out. And this can be a pain in the butt. This is very similar to that puzzle situation I talked about before, where now we have really sliced that object up. However, this is bracing. Really don't care. It's not like I have text or something or pieces of imagery that flow over this area. I can pretty much leave it this way. It's not going to matter for me. So I'm going to grab this. Let's flip this around, make it easier. And it's important for you to take some time and just try to, resituate your UVs. There's no reason that this has to be at a 45-degree angle, similar to what is over there. I can use the rotate tool, of course, to just rotate this element a little bit more vertically, something like that, and then just bring them close to each other. And of course, take this one. I could always flip this one around as well. The orientation does not matter. You have a limited amount of space in your UVs, and you want to compact them as much as possible. What shell mode is going to let me do is not just select individual areas of UVs, but instead grab the entire thing as one solid object. I can grab each of these elements and just shift them around. So now let's go ahead and take this, move it over. Now I do have all the other elements, and that's because this was created from a standard box, it still has those simple box UVs. Move that out of the way. I'm just going to bring this one over here as well. Pretty much it. Now the next thing to do is to duplicate these elements and, split them up all the way across here. I'm going to go ahead and just delete some stuff. Let's come at this from the top, I think is probably the best direction. So let's go to my 4-way view, come up from over here. And let us start down here. I'm going to grow this selection, not grow, but just keep adding to it by using Control-Shift and marquee selecting. Now I'm trying to think, did I equally? No, these get wider. So I'm just going to grab the whole thing then and delete it. And I'll have to deal with that little bit of an offset when I come to it later. So those are deleted. All I have is the one UV mapped element right there. I'll bring back my split view. Let's go back to my UVs though really quick. I just want to make sure I do still have the right one selected. Don't want to lose all of that work I went through. UVs, there it is. Okay, perfect. So that panel is correct. I'm going to go ahead and fuse these elements together. This object with this object down here. Now, before I do that, though, I am going to have to nuke off the rest of these, so let's do that really fast. And we're going to get rid of all of these elements. The big thing with Maya is not to be afraid of deleting stuff. That's typically what I find students are always very fearful of doing. Just realize if you do things properly, it's really easy to combine objects back together and reduplicate them and regenerate any structure you might have lost or created. I'm going to go ahead and fuse these two elements using a combine operator. We're going to do now this joint here. How many? There's only those 5, and I do believe their placement is going to be the same regardless. So I can go ahead and nuke these ones as well. And let's go ahead and add these guys together. Now that they're all in the same space, it's going to be easier for me to work with them as a UV set. That is, as in one area, I can lay them out properly. Now there is, of course, this sidewall thing right here. Let's go ahead now and duplicate this several times. I'm going to hit the W key. I'm going to hit D and V and put my pivot right down there. I'm going to use the, before I even do that, I'm jumping the gun here. Let's go to my UV mode, go back to Panels, UV Editor, and now take a look at what I have in my UVs. So here we can see things are a bit of a mess. I'm going to need to move things around and relay them out. Now I'm going to go to shell mode. It's going to make it very easy for me to select the different components. These were not sized in the same area. This is definitely going to want to be scaled down. That's not an incredibly important component. Let us go to shell mode again, grab this entire thing. And now I could, if I wanted to, go in here, grab each one of these windows and scale them down individually a tiny bit so I could get some UVs on the sides of those objects, but there's really no point. I'm not going to use it for anything. It's never going to be seen. Let's just scale this guy down a little bit, and I've got, of course, these bars over here. Let's rotate this maybe 90 degrees using this rotate clockwise or counterclockwise button. I'm just going to shove that somewhere down there. We can now take this object, bring it on in here someplace like that. And I'm just going to have to start moving things around until I get them to be, the right spacing. This is close enough. I don't need to labor over this too much. Let's go ahead and duplicate this object. I'm going to hit Shift-D, move this over, hold down the V key and snap it right there. And now that I've done that once and I use the Shift-D operation, the special duplication, we can continue to do that naturally. Now I do have this little gap here, and I had mentioned that before, and that was due to me screwing some things up. But really all I'm going to do to fix that is just grab this entire set. I'm going to make this tiny bit of window longer than all of the rest. And the idea behind that was, I'm lazy, and two, I was working within this pillar area, and I forgot the area above the pillar, and I messed it up. But it doesn't matter because we can fake it and we can hide it. So now I have everything selected. I hit the W key, and I'm just going to use the D and V key to lock it up there to that corner. I'm going to move in the constrain only in the Z-axis, and I'm going to hold down V to move those points over to the side right there. Now, there is no central bracing as far as I can remember, so I can actually go in here, right-click, and just grow this selection. Because there's no connectivity, I can keep growing and just hitting delete, and I'm done. I'm going to save this out real quick. Actually, let's go to File, Save As. Let's call this 03. And let's call it _UVW mapping. Just as a hint so I know that the third iteration, we were messing with the UVs. Because these all share the same UV coordinates, and they're going to be sharing all the same information, I can fuse them all into one object. So if we go back over to our UV window UV editor, we'll see that we're actually using the same UVs all over the place. Because the UVs are shared, they're overlapping, if you were to bake or render this information out, you would continually be baking over the same stuff on top of it. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and create the texture for this inside of Photoshop, just something to throw up there, and then we will, after creating that, duplicate this off all over the place. We could do the duplication right now, but I'd rather get one segment done and functional and ready before I waste time, moving things all over the place. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you want to, and of course comment below with other ideas for things you want to learn about. So long, goodbye.